Alright, welcome to part 2 of customizing my 66 Hagstrom. In this one we'll cover how I created my logo, not my logo, my inlay work, including the headstock logo. So here's a quick look at the birds with a couple of the flowers wood burned. And here's my initial paper layout on the body of the guitar as I position my pieces to figure out how to cover everything. There's the completed pieces all burned and sealed. And here you see them laid onto the guitar body. And my little setup at the kitchen table where I cut out the flower leaves and all the pieces. Food coloring test on here. I just use regular old food coloring. There's birch and orange and white, yellow for the bird and the beak. A little bit of red test on the maple and cherry, and then purple on the maple and cherry as well. There's some dark blue above that, which I didn't end up using at all. A couple of green tests on the oak. I used the one on the left, a lighter green there, a little more yellow. Here I wood burned over the purple stain to see how the wood burning would go. And you can see I initially had cut my leaves out of one piece, but I didn't like the look. And I went back and recut them into two. And I believe this is with the two pieces of leaves. And the grain of the oak really worked as a good leaf vein type of texture. Excuse me. So here I tested my wood burning, a few different tips on the table, my unit in the background there on the left. And on some of the stuff on the right, I did different settings to see how it burned the wood with different temperature settings. And that was the first flower I wood burned. Here you can see the pieces laid over the drawing, and there they are all wood burned up like that initial one picture there. And here's the wood burned pieces against the non-wood burned pieces just to see the difference. And obviously I went and burned them all because it looked way better. Not a lot of complicated wood burning, just small details. I was probably a little nervous doing the birds, but not too tough. The leaves I just burned around the edges. And the flower petals I just added texture lines kind of to show the grain of the hibiscus. If you look at them, you can see that. In this you can also see the grain of that oak, and the leaves really, really work good. So that was laying the pieces out with the thought of the wood grain in my head as I did it, so that they'd look proper. And they came out better than I expected, actually. Yep, so pretty happy with that. The blue is painter's tape I had in the back just to hold it all together as I shuffled it around. Here you can see extra pieces in the middle. And this is where it got nerve-wracking, when I started actually engraving the body with my Dremel and putting these pieces in. And I worked my way around, as you can see, from the bridge side. And when I did the bridge, you can see one of the petals is through the screw hole for the tailpiece. And so I did one, then put the tailpiece in through the screw hole that was still exposed and lined it up and drilled, re-drilled through my veneer to the old one. And then same thing when I did the other side, put the tailpiece back onto the piece I had previously gone through the veneer, and that gave me the lineup for the other one. And then it was hand cutting to go around the boss for the threads on the bridge post on the upper side, I guess you would call it. That is a flower petal that goes right through it. And there it is with all the pieces inlaid finally. Had to wrap that last petal around the body as well. And then broke out the gloss lacquer. I started off with Watco, and then I believe I moved into Minwax, and they look like they're pretty much made in the same place. So I brushed on a few coats at first, and you can see the raised lines of the crazy glue, or cyanoacrylate, whatever you want to call it, all around the edges of all my inlay pieces, because I really wanted to sink that in so nothing would lift up away down the road. And then I just kept layering on the lacquer and wet sanding it until I got a good flat sand, and then I did the marker on it after that, the black marker. And here is when I started to spray on the coats of lacquer. And very pleased with the way the lacquer sprayed out of there. It was real good. Came out nice. You can see the shine starting to pick up on it now. Here's the back. It's actually 6 pieces of wood. I thought it was 5, but it's 6. Yep, so big old swimming pool route. That's how they did them back in the 60s. But this was always a beautiful playing guitar, so it made me pretty happy to restore it and make it pretty again. Put a nice thin pick guard on it. Look how nice and smooth that lacquer went on that particular set of coats. Pretty nice. Here's a closer look at the inlay with all the black work done to it now. Okay, so I got a 1966 Swedish 50 wood because this is a 66 guitar and Hagstrom is homed in Sweden. And so for the numismatists out there, I apologize for what you're going to see me do to this coin. I took pretty much a perfect coin and I dunked it into this liver of sulfur. Put a couple of tablespoons of liver of sulfur or teaspoons in with some water, and then just put that on the stove on simmer and heat it up. And that really gets that coin black, you know. And so there it is black as can be. And so then I hit it with a couple of 1,000 grit wet dry sandpaper to bring up all the high spots until we could read the date and see the crown and the, you know, design that they had in this coin. And I had to enlarge the round circle thing that was engraved there before for that to fit in, and I kind of didn't account for the rock of the body there and opened them out to the sides a little bit. Doesn't look too terrible, the black line hides it, but I'll keep that in mind for the next one. And the Hagstrom logo inlay, I downloaded a couple of versions. Here's a 66 Hagstrom that's actually from the same lot as mine, and you can see that the headstock logo they had put down between the 2nd and 4th pair of tuners on the headstock. And look at the crazy switching on that pickguard. And then in 67, they have it way up high on the top like that. So here's the logo I went with. This was more like the old one. They rounded out part of it and changed it a little. So I sent that to my Cricut, cut out some 24,000 thick mahogany. There's the one that I kept right there. You can see broken pieces of the one below it. And here I got it being crazy glued in with wax paper over it and a brick on top of it. And there it is. And now I had made a veneer out of maple, you know, just a little bigger than the headstock all the way around so I can lay it on and trim it back. There it is all glued in with the first coats of clear going on there and my Molotov black marker, or black liner. I like their markers. They work real good. And so then I just clamped it all up with a piece of granite stone under there to keep everything flat. So that's clamped right to a 1-foot square granite. Piece of tissue paper there, and that tissue paper actually left impression in the lacquer, even though I didn't think I clamped it super tight. But it didn't really matter because I had planned on wet sanding it and putting more clear on it anyway. And so there it is all cleared up and on there with my mother of pearl showers from 1979 or something. Yours truly holding up the finished product. Mighty happy with it. So thanks for coming along. And the next one I guess is going to do my pick guard and the wiring involved in that. Have a great day.